My opponent won't rule out raising taxes, but I will, and the Congress will push me to raise taxes, and I'll say no, and they'll push, and I'll say no, and they'll push again, and I'll say to them, read my lips. No new taxes.
Ah, boy, George H.W. Bush. Nice guy, they say, but a bit of a wimp, right? Let's face it. Maybe that's a little bit mean. He's dead, and he did that cool stuff during World War II. Anyway, of course, he did raise taxes. He gave in. But politicians learned another lesson. Never be so specific in your over-the-top promises, right? Keep it vague, platitudes, right? Because when you say something like this, so directly, so boldly, the people have an expectation that you're going to follow up. So they never really were specific after this moment, until President Trump showed up, right? What he wants, he says, he promises, then he does it when he's in office. It broke the entire operating system. You're not supposed to do it that way. These tariffs, he's promised them, he's worked for them, and they make sense. I know it looks a little bit ooh, but it's actually not ooh right now. It's fine. You know, when you take a medicine, sometimes it makes you a little bit sicker. Sometimes the flu medicine, although I know people have, that's another kettle of fish. We won't talk about that. Look at what he said on Truth Social today. How did he put it? The operation is over. The patient lived and is healing. The prognosis is that the patient will be far stronger, bigger, better, and more resilient than ever before. Make America great again. Like the $6 million man. I kind of like that the elites are freaking out a little bit. I think that it's awesome. I think that this is reciprocal. It's reciprocal. These other countries have been doing it to us for decades. We're doing it in kind. If it were so bad and reckless, like why is India? Why is India's economy surging for decades now with their ridiculous tariffs? It's perfect. And for those who are upset, I feel like that big guy in Animal House, remember?
Oh boy, is this great!
Him, Flounder. Oh boy, is this great. Nobody was hurt in that moment, but yeah, and I don't like that so many of us have felt marginalized, right? When it comes to economics, at least me, it's never been my forte. The tariffs, the economy, Wall Street, some people I know are really, really good at it. Most of the people I know, not so much. Listen to this guy.
The S&P has an RSI of 24. The semis, the SOX, has an RSI of 20. That's the lowest reading since 2018. It's pretty unbelievable. The breadth of the Russell, 23 down to everyone up, 16 down to everyone up in the S&P. It made me think the volume has been so high the last couple of days. Is this the bottom? Maybe, maybe not, but it's a good spot to start picking around. So I've been buying.
All right. Yeah, I know what buy means. I know what S&P means. I know what volume means. But a lot of the tops and the bottom, it confuses me and a lot of other folks. I'm sorry. And I know he's talking more about the market than tariffs, but it all blends together. And this is a powerful and often overlooked dynamic in our politics. The use of specialized jargon, language, academic framing is a long-standing tactic among elites, especially in government, economics, and academia, to gatekeep important debates and discourage average citizens from engaging. It is not just accidental complexity. It often functions as a kind of rhetorical smokescreen. I'm reading from ChatGPT, by the way, an underused asset and app in my circles at least. Take tariffs, for example. Trump's approach is straightforward. Protect American jobs and industries, taxing foreign imports. Now, most people get that instantly. It's intuitive. It speaks to national strength, self-resilience, and fairness. Now look at the opposition. They talk about comparative advantage, global efficiencies, market bilats, consumer welfare, phrases that sound intelligent but often obscure the real-world consequences. It becomes nearly impossible for a regular person to even enter the conversation, let alone challenge it. This kind of linguistic obfuscation creates a default deference to the so-called experts, and when their track record includes shipping jobs overseas, decimating the middle class, and normalizing economic dependence on China, that deference becomes dangerous. You could even argue that Trump's real threat to the elite class is not just what he says, but how he says it. He strips away the jargon, and once that happens, people can see clearly, and elites lose their control of the narrative. It makes perfect sense, and I'm seeing it in action. Very smart people know how to speak plainly, like our new Treasury Secretary, who may not always have seen the wisdom in tariffs, but he was part of that system, and now I think he's been set free by Trump.
With the cars, all foreign-made cars imports are getting a 25% tariff starting at midnight. If half the cars coming into the United States are foreign-made, that's hard to turn around overnight, as you know. So what would you say to people in the auto industry who are worried about that timeline and how quickly that can shift?
Buy American.
And what about American-made cars and produced cars that are being made using foreign-made parts?
Well, I believe the USMCA is exempt.
Yeah, those that are compliant with this. Obviously, yes. Canada and Mexico are not on here.
The USMCA thing, buy American. Remember when that was encouraged? America encouraged Americans to buy America. Remember this little jingle?
Look for the union labels when you are buying Lacoste dress or bras.
Thank you, ladies. Union, American, kind of all the same back then. And Walmart, where I think just about everything in the store is now made in China, made somewhere else. It was a theme. Buy American. This is like nostalgia TV, a phrase that a lot of people alive today have never heard.
It's happening every day. Somewhere in America, a factory is working overtime to meet its demand. A worker is hired. A family is fed and clothed and sheltered and educated and loved. It all happens because somewhere in America, a choice is made every day. The choice to buy American. At Walmart, we buy American whenever we can. So you can too. Because somewhere, someone's counting on it. What can you do to bring it home to the USA?
Kind of beautiful, patriotic, and economically sound. Well, we gutted the whole damn thing. And yeah, everything is cheap and everything is disposable almost. You go inside one of those big box stores, it's all from someplace else, not America. And that is going to change. We have the capacity, we have the factories and the space. They can be, I understand, kind of just turned on in short order. Can I see my old-timey factory, please? They're all over the place. They are underutilized. They're just sitting there, and it's time to plug them in. All right, let's plug that. Well, that's going to need a little bit more than a paint job, but you know. All right. Meantime, I know the stock market has taken a huge hit, just like we were warned. There's going to be a little bit of a disturbance, and you know what a disturbance means? An opportunity. One of the richest guys and smartest guys in the world, they say, is Warren Buffett. And whenever the stock market goes down, rich guys like him get excited.
We're a net buyer of stocks over time. And just like being a net buyer of food, I expect to buy food the rest of my life, and I hope that food goes down in price tomorrow. So when stocks are down, we're going to be buying on balance. And who wouldn't rather buy it, at a lower price than a higher price? People are really strange on that. I mean, because most people, most of your listeners are savers, and that means they'll be net buyers, and they should want the stock market to go down. They should want to buy at a lower price, but they have that feeling that they just feel better when stocks are going up.
Well, take it from, what do they call him, the Oracle of Lincoln, the Oracle of Omaha. Still lives in a regular, ordinary ranch house when the guy could afford to live in the Louvre Museum. It's kind of an interesting guy. who remembers the North American Free Trade Agreement? That thing really screwed everything up. But notice how the elites came together on that one. Very rich and powerful people. All of them thought it was just dandy.
And may I single out the debt our nation owes to President Bush, President Carter, President Reagan, President Ford, and President Nixon for their unprecedented support of the NAFTA treaty. It marked a real turning point.
All the presidents, ex-presidents, wanted that back in 1993, along with Clinton. Take a look at that. I realize that ex-presidents are probably some of the least credible people out there because most of their customers are overseas. They do all kinds of work over there, and they make all kind of money. NAFTA, we gutted America, and Trump is bringing it back just like he promised. And the more they object, the more I realize we're on the right track.
Stocks having their worst day since 2020. $2 trillion just wiped out. The dollar erasing all gains since the election.
This is similar to what caused the Great Depression with the Smoot-Hawley tariffs. Back in the early 30s, America ran a trade surplus for a while. The cost of that was the worst depression in American history.
The Dow closed down more than 2,000 points for only the fourth time in history. The Nasdaq is in a bear market, and the S&P shed about $5 trillion worth of market value. And this is because of President Donald Trump's trade war.
It's all Trump's fault. It's all Trump's fault. Well, we were warned. And what else? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I think, well, look at Vietnam. Vietnam, we fought a big war there, right? Well, it's communist now. And they're totally crazy about tariffs. 90% tariffs they got, right? And we just came up with the reciprocal tariff, which actually is a lot less. I still have to get my head around that. Why are our reciprocal tariffs so much less than their tariffs? But look at what Vietnam did. And getting back to the simplicity of it all, maybe it's just this simple. President Trump truthed that he just had a very productive call with To Lam, the General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, who told me that Vietnam wants to cut their tariffs down to zero if they are able to make an agreement with the U.S. I thanked him on behalf of our country, and I said I look forward to meeting him in the near future. It's much more complicated than that. Oh, how could he ever do that? No, maybe it's not. Maybe it's actually that direct. You know that guy Santelli on CNBC? Some say he actually started the Tea Party. He almost got emotional about it, and I think he's right. Sometimes it's hard to understand, and the emotion is there, but he's battling the elites, and, well, I'm on his side.
I've never been a fan of globalism, never.
But you're
Never
a fan
been
of the government
globalism.
telling us where and how we can buy and how much we ought to pay for it and what kind of
No, I'm
industries
not.
business
No,
ought to
I'm
do
not.
and
But
where Apple ought to source it. That's what you're in favor
pulled
of,
out
Rick.
of the station during FDR, pal.
What was that? Wait, you're going back to the 30s?
You know what? All of the highfalutin government telling us what to do, that's been around a lot longer than Trump's been in politics.
So Trump is just continuing and making it worse, Rick. Is that what you're saying?
No. Maybe what he's doing is lighting the firecracker that'll finally end it with a big pop.
But with more government intrusion into the decision-making of both consumers and businesses.
You know what? Let people buy things made in America, period.
It was great, actually. He went on minutes, and they were giving him a hard time. It was the establishment versus the heart and soul of America. And, well, you know who we're rooting for, I hope.